Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that, but don't fret. We've got you covered. This is CinemAddicts.
Hey everyone, what's up? It's a new week of CinemAddicts. This is CinemAddicts episode 321. We're covering movies that are coming out the week of, again, Friday, November 21st, 2025. The movies include Rental Family, Rebuilding, Reverence, and the Zodiac Killer Project. I believe for the movies that we're covering, that means 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not so bad. Eric, I have a feeling that I'm leaving a movie out. Let me see what movie am I.
Oh, we got the Things You Kill, Man on the Inside.
Oh, right.
And I believe Bruce is doing a couple rewinds. One Battle After Another, Thelma, and Black Phone 2.
Okay, so we got some good stuff.
I thought for sure Bruce saw Thelma, so that'll be a fun rewind. And that was, I don't know what Bruce thinks about it, but Thelma, if we haven't seen it, go check it out. Unless Bruce says it's stupid, then maybe skip it. I don't know, but that movie's so good. I can't imagine Bruce would. He might not love it as much as I do, but I can't imagine that he would hate it.
Right. Well, the one movie I really wanted to see that I missed this week was The Things You Kill. But the good news is Eric and I were taping a little bit late this week because I don't know why we're doing a lot of interviews. Eric's been doing a lot of interviews. I've been doing a lot of interviews. And between Eric and I, each of us were able to squeeze in that movie Rebuilding. And hopefully we're going to get to that in a few moments, possibly. Or maybe later on the show. I don't know whether we should bury the lead. Who knows? Maybe it's not. Maybe Rebuilding is not a lead. Maybe it might be a junk of a movie.
How about this? We do all the reviews. We just tear this podcast down. And then at the very end, we'll rebuild it.
Rebuild it. Well,
because we're all about puns here.
We're all about puns. I was going to say I'm going to offer you something for it, but if I said I offered you something for it, that's a spoiler in Rebuilding. So Eric knows what kind of corny punchline I was going to offer for that thing, but we're going to get to Rebuilding in a few moments. Maybe not. We'll see. It's an interesting movie. That's one of the many interesting films that we have this week. Eric Holmes, what have you been doing the last week? What's been going on in your life?
Did a bunch of interviews. I did 2 for one of the movies that we're talking about, Reverence. One with the actor, I just did the one with the director. Oh, here's the thing. I was at my friend's house. We're recording this on Thursday. This was yesterday, Wednesday. I was at my friend's house, and then I saw that you had put up the interview with the actor, right. Adam Hampton.
Adam Hampton, yes.
And I'm like, oh, cool. He put it up. Like a little ping came up, said that he put it up. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Oh, yeah, I got the interview with the director. I missed the interview with the director. Oh, crap. Thing is, that was yesterday, Wednesday. I thought yesterday was Thursday. So I saw that. I started panicking for a second. It took about a minute. I'm like, oh, wait, it's Wednesday. We're good. Oh, my God. I thought I messed up horrible.
Did not. You were fine.
Also had to interview the maker of This Ordinary Thing documentary. We'll talk about that next week, along with You Got Gold, a celebration of John Prine.
And that's for next week? Right.
Yeah. Fiona Wayland Prine.
Okay, cool.
The Best You Can, the director of Best You Can as well. I think some of these we're not going to cover it till next week because they're doing the film festival stuff before the theatrical rollout. I would say any of these 3, if it's planned at a film festival near you, check them out.
Right. And look, it's next week is Thanksgiving weekend or week. Is it Thanksgiving week? Are you having a big to-do next week over Thanksgiving with your family, Eric? What do you guys usually do for Thanksgiving?
I have no idea. I just do my thing, and then when my sister Frankie says, hey, we're doing this, I'm like, cool.
All right.
I guess we're doing that.
Do you cook on Thanksgiving? Do you make things, sauce or whatnot? Or are you one of the participants?
I will. It's not like, usually if I'm cooking something, it'll be, hey, Eric, we're doing a thing. Do you want to make this? I'll be like, yeah, cool, I'll do it. It's not something usually I plan ahead of time unless it's like sauces and have to because the nature of making it. But yeah.
Okay.
There's some good sauce time. By the way, that last batch of hot sauce I made, it was pretty damn good.
Yeah, I wish one of these days I'm going to try the sauce, Eric. That would be very, very nice.
I need to figure out how to like ship it to people because I like sent Pete Abeyta some one time, and by the time it got to him, it was broken. So
no.
I had to figure out a way to do that, but I got the bottling down. Obviously, the sauce is easy. I don't know. This is a talk you come to cinematics for.
Well,
Cinematics.
I'm Awesome Addicts. I'm down with that. Oh, before we get to our featured reviews, next week, me, Eric, and Bruce Berkey, we're gonna do Patreon. The Patreon assigned
Oh
pick for
yeah.
next week. The assigned pick for next week that we will cover on our regular show is this film recommended by Ryan Smith called Doberman. Doberman came out in the year 1997. We're spotlighting the year 1997 for this month's Patreon on our cinematics. So thank you, Ryan Smith, for that choice. For the movies we're covering for the actual Patreon episode, we're covering The Game and The Day Trippers. Have you seen both these movies, Eric? The Day Trippers or The Game? I'm guessing you, well, of course you've seen The
The
Game.
the Day Trippers, I have to watch that again because
Okay.
I feel like I have seen it, but I don't know. It might be one of those I'd start watching and go, nope, didn't see it, or start watching it and go, oh yeah, I seen this one. The Game I've absolutely seen. Love that movie. Spoiler, only 5 stars, but I'll give it a rewatch.
Of course.
I'll give it a rewatch. Maybe it doesn't hold up, but I
That's the
saw that
challenge.
I
That's
saw that a bunch when it came out on DVD, and I haven't seen it for a while, but yeah, I love The Game.
Eric, do you still have a bunch of DVDs in your domicile? Or do you
I do,
trade
but
them
they're all put like they're kind of all in
in
boxes.
boxes?
Yeah.
What's interesting is over the years, I used to get a whole bunch of DVDs back in the day. A lot of physical media stuff, Blu-rays, DVDs, box sets. Ultimately, as time wore on, I would bring them to my local DVD store, exchange them for other DVDs, or maybe get petty cash for them. What's interesting about the DVDs that we've had, since you and I are both old, you're younger than me by maybe 7, 8 years or whatnot. But the longer
48
you
right
keep,
now.
I'm sorry.
So
Oh yeah, and I'm
48
50.
now, so do the
Okay,
math, I
let's
guess.
yeah, do the math. I'm 54. I think I'm 54. I'm so about 6 year age gap with us. But it's weird. What gets my goat is sometimes I look at on Amazon at the DVDs or Blu-rays that I've traded in over the years. Has this ever happened to you? And you realize that DVD I just traded in for $5 or $6 or traded in for another DVD is now $40 on Amazon. Have you ever actually experienced that or looked up some of the old stuff that you traded in or you might even have in your box right now? It
Uh,
just happens like that.
there
It,
was that Blade Runner box set that came in the briefcase I had for a while, and then
okay.
I just never watched it. Needed money, so I sold it. I think that's probably worth something now, but not anything that's like jumped up to a degree that I'm like, oh my God, I sold it for $5 and now it's $3,000. I do have back there. I got a Star Wars collector set of laser discs. I don't have a laser
Oh,
disc player, but I found that for $20. I'm like, that's probably gonna be worth something, so we'll just keep that, hang on to that.
that,
And hey,
you
if you
should.
want to buy it from me for $3,000, knock yourself out. I'm easy to find.
That's very, very good. So actually haven't gotten a DVD or Blu-ray lately, but we'll see what we have as far as maybe down the road. Maybe we all do DVD or Blu-ray stuff down the road. There's a lot of stuff that we're doing. Eric is so busy during the
Oh,
week doing these
there,
movies.
there is another one. I think I sent it out like a long time ago because there was a time where like I would send out a DVD to someone, and then the idea was that they get it, they
Mm,
watch it, and then
I
send it to
remember
someone
that.
else. I think
Yes.
did that with Intensity, and now I need to go find another copy of Intensity
Do
online
you-
because that you cannot find that movie online. But maybe that's changed today. Who knows? But the last time I checked it, it was not online.
don't
Uh,
scare yourself. Do not look up what Dean Kuntz's Intensity, how much it is on Amazon. I wonder how much it costs on
yeah,
Amazon.
but when I bought the DVD, it still wasn't available online. It was like 5, $10. It wasn't that much, but
Yeah,
definitely some.
there
Uh,
goes my bleeping video again. Hold on one second. This video.
Definitely a movie I like, and I want to get that.
Yeah, let me see. Okay, cool. This DJ Osmo is ridiculous, and I hate it, and I apologize for that. But yeah, I remember
CinemAddicts, sponsored by DJ Osmo.
right, or not sponsored, but I remember Dean Koontz was something. Were you a fan of Dean Koontz, or were you a fan of the movies? I keep
Yeah,
forgetting.
the first book of his I read was Dragon Tears. My Aunt Phyllis had it, and I just saw this blue book sitting there with Dragon Tears. I had a picture of this tear with a green dragon in it. It was a hardcover one. I was like, ooh, that's probably like a fantasy sword and sorcery thing. And so I was interested in it. So when I went over there, I started reading it. And I was like, oh, this is not that at all. This is like a crime thriller. But it definitely has supernatural elements to it. But it was like a crime thriller, the supernatural thing going around killing people. There was a
Hmm.
scene in the book where he's at a rave and he's able to stop time. So he stops time and people are like mid rave and he like cut someone's arm off and put the arm in front of him. And then so like the idea of just set up chaos like all throughout this rave. And so when he unfreezes time, like, I'm just dancing, all of a sudden my arm's falling on the ground. Or the person in front of me, their head blows up or all this sort of stuff. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I don't know why they never made a movie of Dragon Tears, but they should.
That is an interesting
But
scene.
yeah, I've started reading Dean Koontz books after that. And none of them quite reached the level of Dragon Tears. In fact, Intensity was all right, but it wasn't until I saw the movie where it was like, this is cool. Like the book was okay. I like the movie a lot more. Probably in the minority there, but I don't care.
That's not even a movie, right? It's a TV movie, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, it was a 2-part miniseries.
Okay, very cool. Yeah. Dean Koontz's Intensity, I believe, right? That's so.
Yep.
Huh. I shouldn't give that. I wonder who received that DVD from you, Eric.
There's a DVD right there in bestbuy.com, $24. Bam.
Oh, see?
But remember, I'll probably watch it again and give it away again. Who wants to watch it?
You better enjoy it. Eric Holmes just paid $24 for you to enjoy it.
Enjoy it. You just got to watch it.
Or just watch it. That's it. Yeah. Just watch it. Now, speaking of watches, let's get to a movie that both Eric Holmes and I watched over the week, and actually specifically recently, as of today, as of this recording. The movie is called Rebuilding. Here is the official plot synopsis of this film. Running, I believe, I didn't even put the running time here. I believe it's 95 minutes.
Like 35. Well, without credits, it's, hour and a half.
Yeah, hour and a half. Quote, a gently humanist story of the American West from Max Walker Silverman. Max Walker Silverman is the filmmaker behind a movie that I loved. Eric, did you ever see the 2022 film A Love Song with Dale Dickey and Wes Studi?
I don't think I did. I looked that one up because the name sounded familiar. What you described sounded familiar. When I looked it up, I was like, I don't think I've seen this. I think I was thinking of that other one with was Wes Studi in that, or maybe that was Graham
Greene. Yeah,
the one with the fly fishers.
River Run Through It.
No, it was a couple years ago.
Right, I think that might have been.
Was it Jeff Bridges? I think was in it.
It was the person who played Hannibal Lecter in Manhunter, and he was in Succession.
Oh, Brian Cox.
Brian Cox.
Yes. That's the movie I thought it was. It wasn't that movie.
Was that? I think maybe it might have. I forgot the name of that movie. That's a good movie that we saw, that fly fishing movie. That's a very good movie. But A Love Song. So, and if you look up Dale Dickey, I think you know who Dale Dickey is. If you look up her picture on Google, you say, oh, I've seen her in a million things. They were in a film in 2022 called A Love Song. That was directed by Max Walker Silverman. Really talented filmmaker. His follow-up film is Rebuilding, and it centers on Dusty, played by Josh O'Connor. And Dusty he's a reserved, divorced dad who is a man of few words. And when you look at him from afar, he looks like this very timid, shy, reserved, cowboy-esque type person. He lives up in the mountains, I believe in Colorado. He had a ranch, that is, because in the opening moments, a fire ruins his ranch. It's torn all the way down to the ground. Everything's burned.
I think this is set just after the Black Forest fires.
Oh, really? Oh, specifically.
Yeah,
okay.
I was here for that. That sucked. I wasn't in the fires, but like all the smoke and smog and stuff that came through. And then I've driven up through the burn scar, and it's I imagine seeing a forest, but instead of a forest there's just a bunch of black sticks lined up.
That's right. And you see a bunch of these black sticks lined up here in Rebuilding. The property of Dusty is now nothing. And it starts off at the first opening moments. Dusty actually has to sell his cattle at a local auction. He is now a man with just a burned out property, no home whatsoever. And then after going to auction off his cattle, he goes to visit his estranged wife, his ex-wife, played by Megan Fahey. His ex-wife's name.
By the way, let's point out that usually, how does that scene usually play out in movies? He's definitely went through a tragedy. He's down on his luck, going to see his ex-wife, and then she's going to be the character that just keeps piling on. She does not do that here. Thumbs up for that.
Right. She, in fact, what she does is she looks at him and she gives him a little bit of a puzzled look, and you can infer that maybe Dusty has been not really a frequent visitor to her own home for a while because and so all of these things are a little bit coded because he's a quiet guy. Ruby has moved on with another guy, another companion. Ruby lives in a home with their daughter, Callie Rose, played by Lily Latour. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. I could be wrong.
She's great in this.
She is fantastic.
She's like Pim Zam level, just adorable and just like she just sells her character.
We also have to mention, sorry, Eric, we also have to mention Amy Madigan, who plays the mother of Ruby, the mother-in-law of Dusty. And we all know Amy Madigan earlier
From
this year.
Streets of Fire?
From Streets of Fire. And of course, what is it? Weapons?
Oh, yeah, I guess she was in Weapons too. But everyone knows her from Streets of Fire.
Right, very good, Eric Holmes. I hope she receives a nomination for her work in Weapons, but she's really good in this movie as well with what she has to work with in rebuilding. And it was Eric was saying about tropes. You think this movie initially, if you never read the plot synop or seen the trailer, you think it might be about a rancher loses his home and he tries to find his way back into the life of his ex-wife. So he's rebuilding his life with her. Nope. It's actually a rebuilding of his relationship with his daughter, the aforementioned Callie Rose. That's the heart of rebuilding. There are also different people that populate their lives because now without a home, he gets some assistance from FEMA and he ends up in a trailer. It's not a trailer park per se. There's just a bunch of trailers.
It's like 5 RVs kind of parked next. Well, I mean they are trailers, but like the
Right.
mobile homes like camped out next to each other.
Exactly. And within this, FEMA has provided them these maybe several, like 5 or 6 families or 5 or 6 individuals or whatnot in this area. And they're, like Eric said, they're next to each other. And then as the story progresses, Dusty, who is really initially thinking about the tragedy of his lost home, of his burned down home, and you understand that, and he's really he's worried about how is he going to make a living. These are his initial worries, understandably so. You realize he starts understanding that maybe there are other things in his life, like forming a real relationship with his daughter. And who knows, these strangers in the neighboring trailers or RVs, like Eric was saying, maybe they might become his friends. Maybe they might actually become his extended family. You do not know. Could be. And then what happens regarding his relationship with his ex-wife, Ruby? Will he get back together with her? Or is that not even part of the story? Or
is he going to catch a fair one?
Or he's going to catch a fair one. And then thank you, Eric Holmes, for correcting me. One of the people in this park area is played by Callie Reese. Out of all of the individuals in this trailer RV park area, she has the biggest role. Her character is really fleshed out. She is the mother of a daughter who ends up becoming friends with Dusty's own daughter, and everyone forms a friendship. And Callie Reese, I was just messaging to Eric Holmes today that I could watch her just do monologues about nothing for hours. She just has this I don't know if you agree with me on this, Eric. She has this unmistakable presence that me and Eric and Bruce caught when we saw her in Catch the Fair One, right?
And she's been picking bangers too, because this is only her 4th movie. She did Catch a Fair One, which was awesome. 2 years later, did Asphalt City. She was great in that. That movie was great. She was in the True Detective, one of the
I have to see
seasons of that.
Yeah.
And then now this one, like I'm starting to get the sense that if Callie Reese is in a movie, it's probably going to be good. Because I mean, look, she's 444.
She's so talented as an actress. Really, really loved her in this movie as well. I will say this movie opens in Los Angeles this Friday, November 21st. Last week it was open in New York. It's a very small release schedule. It's a very small movie. And the caveat is, if you want things to move fast and to be quickly edited and things to move at a really interesting pace, you're watching the wrong movie. This is if you've seen a love song and you like that vibe, you're going to like the vibe of rebuilding. So what is that general vibe? It's a very relaxed method of storytelling. It's very calm, it's very quiet, and it's reflective. If you're into that, rebuilding really worked for me on a deep level. What about you, Eric? Do you feel the same way? And do you agree with warning
Well,
audiences about this?
with your caveat, I mean, I think you got a pretty good idea of what I think of this. What would be your original thought had you not known that I seen this?
Your
Probably
reaction.
Eric, stay away.
I'll be honest with you. I would say Eric, stay away if it was something like the Eight Mountains, which is very pretentious, and I like that pretentious stuff. This, to me, I feel that because you knew a little bit of about the area, I feel also that these are real characters that are. I would feel that you would actually love this movie, to be honest.
All right.
That was
Well,
my guess.
it just went slow, and it's like that. Like watching, it's like it's weird because it does go kind of slow, but I think watching Dusty's character kind of it's weird because like all this stuff just keeps getting piled on him, and like even when he's trying to rebuild the go to the bank, get loans so he can get the
He's not a proactive character. He's not someone who's actually inciting action. He's letting things happen to him.
yeah. But I mean, like he goes to the
Tough.
bank to try to get a loan so he can rebuild his ranch,
Yeah.
and then they're like, "Dude, you're not going to be able to produce anything for like a couple of years. That area is like the bank no longer sees that as farmland. Maybe he can come back after a couple of years, like once the land's farmable. In the meantime, you gotta go here, and then but like he takes all these stuff that gets piled on him and he just rolls with it. He's like, well,
That's right.
this
That's right.
sucks, but that's my life now. So I'm I'm not gonna waste energy like just complaining about it. I'm just gonna roll with it and do the thing I need to do. And then he just keeps hitting like all these speed bumps along the way until finally there was one scene, one great scene because it builds up to this where he's by himself and he just like breaks down.
Right,
And it was
exactly.
like that one bit of release right there that this whole slow buildup was building towards, and then you just see him get to just dump all of it all at once.
Right, exactly.
His daughter Kelly Rose, Lily Latore,
Yeah.
she was great in this. Kind of like that. Oh geez, why do I forget his name now? Kid from Sixth Sense.
Haley Joel Osment.
Haley Joel Osment. Like when he was a kid, everyone was like, "Oh, he's such a good actor," and they're right, he is. I kind of get that same feeling from her. The same deal with Pim Zam, but I mean, she only did Blue Nun Yak in the Classroom and nothing after that because filmmakers are stupid and they don't know what gold they're missing by not putting Pim Zam in it.
Not
But
could disagree. I agree with
Lily
you on
Latore, if you need a little girl in your movie, she's the one. She
that.
was
Because it's
freaking
not a
great in
showy
this.
role. She feels very believable as the
Yeah,
daughter. There's nothing showy about it. It just feels
yeah,
real.
she does all like these subtle like looks and kind of reactions and stuff to things. And during her line, she just kills it. Josh watching Dusty kind of go through this and it just takes the hits. And it's like I'm not gonna bother complaining about it because what what's it gonna matter? It's not gonna, is me complaining about it gonna change anything? Nah, we'll just keep going and then
Mm.
just roll with the punches as he gets them. I love Amy Madigan's character in this.
Oh,
And
very
then
beautiful.
also Megan Fahey, who I already mentioned her as the ex-wife,
And
ex-girlfriend,
she's had a
Callie's
huge
mom.
she's had a huge couple of years. Remember, she's the lead in Drop, right? So
Yeah.
she's a huge
But like
actress.
her character in any other movie like this is the insufferable bitch that just keeps adding fuel to the fire. And you can tell that they had like a shaky past, but she's actually a character in this. So she understands, dude, Dusty he just lost the ranch. He's got nothing. I'm going to be here for him. We may have
Right.
had our differences, but as much as I'm annoyed by him or angry about him or whatever that happened in the past, now's not the time for that. And I love that they made her an actual character with heart and feeling in this, as opposed to just the another speed bump for him to get over.
And the mother-in-law, like you were saying, the Amy Madigan character, she has a great dinner sequence with Megan Fahey and Josh O'Connor and Lily Tori. It's so beautiful, and they're going through a bunch of old photographs, and you'll see how these photographs tie into just the overall fabric of their family. Even though they're a fractured family, there's a divorce within the family. The Amy Madigan character, the mother-in-law, still stays close with her son-in-law, and the son-in-law is still very, very close to her as well. So it's some really good family stuff. It's a very subtle film, and it moves at a very, for some, it might feel like a glacial pace, but I think for me, rebuilding moves at the pace I really wanted it to move. I ate I ate this up. I really loved rebuilding. For me, my rating on rebuilding, 4.5 stars. This really got to me. And towards the end, there is actually a lot of things that happened towards the end. It was very moving for me. And I believe the final moments, it earned its keep. Some people may say, "Oh, come on, really?" But I was okay with the ending. What about you, Eric Holmes? Final thoughts on your rating?
I think I'm right there with you. Also, again, Kelly Reese, like her and Dusty's characters back and forth. I wish Kelly Reese was in it more, but she showed up a lot, especially towards the end, and I really like that. And I just watched that again. We'll talk about it next week, but that John Prine documentary, that How Lucky song, the John Prine song they used at the end of this one.
Very good, Eric. Yeah.
Nailed it. Like that ending was like one of those, it was one of those endings where it was like, I wasn't quite sure where they were going to go with it, but it was just like when the thing that happened at the end and then the irony for that How Lucky song, it was just perfect. It was like one of those endings where it was like, oh yeah, of course they're doing that.
Of course.
I don't know how to put it together at the beginning, but
That's
course, this is where they end up. And then that John Prine song at the end, just the lyrics of that would just perfectly kind of dark mirrored in an ironic way, everything that you just saw.
Yeah.
To the point where I don't know where I'm 4.5 on this. It should be 5, but we'll go 4.5.
Also, the ending, there's an ending shot, which we're not going to talk about. Ending shot with a couple of people and someone says something and it's very subtle and nice and really cool. And it just ends perfectly. It's a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm giving it 4.5 too, but it's, yeah.
It's like on paper, it sounds like a bummer, but it's not. Probably because like the Dusty character, he's not wallowing in his pity the whole time. He's just kind of
observing.
Yeah, he's like, oh, this happened. Well, I guess we got to figure that out. He didn't spend time wallowing it, so it doesn't have that darkness. It has that. You definitely want him to get a win. For some reason, it doesn't come off as like a sad bastard music or a sad bastard movie. It comes off as like
a little bit life affirming. Yeah, endearing, life affirming. Also, please, we were saying about the pace. There might be complaints. You might think this sounds like a boring movie. It is not. I did not find this movie to be boring. That said, there will be some people who might not get into the vibe of rebuilding. I'm just glad that Eric and I both really enjoyed.
I will say I'm usually the one of these kind of movies that I'm like, nah, not enough happens. But it propels enough, even though it's slow paced. Like the story and the characters propel enough to keep you interested. Well, what's going to happen to him next, or how's he going to figure this out, or what? Oh, this happened. So what happens now? I think there's just enough of that to string you along, so it's not kind of like one thing happens, then nothing, and then another thing that has nothing to do with just happens. It's not meandering. It's just it has a point. It just takes a while to get to the point.
We forgot to also mention that Max Walker Silverman, the filmmaker behind Rebuilding, he was inspired by this movie because his grandmother lost her home in a fire. If you watch Rebuilding and A Love Song, you have a filmmaker who really knows his environment and understands the pace at how he wants to tell his story. It's not some arbitrary director filming a story that just got out of the factory mill. This feels like a very personal story. And I think that's why possibly Eric really enjoyed this as well. And I really loved it because it has a personal touch to it. It feels homespun, homemade. And it's not one of these movies where it points attention to itself, where like, oh, we're an cool indie film shooting in the middle of the mountains. Look at us. Look at what we're doing to make ourselves look cool. No, this feels like it's a movie about real life, and I enjoyed it. So
yeah.
Oh,
and also there was definitely the Black Forest fire. I don't think this would have been at Waldo because it was a year or two before the Black Forest fire. The two happened like real close together. There was Black Forest fire and there was the Waldo Canyon fire, but where they're at seemed quite a ways from the mountain. So maybe it was Black Forest. I don't know. Either way, I said Black Forest fire. I could be wrong about that as far as the setting, but it definitely felt like one of the fires that happened in Colorado.
Okay, well, a good review on Rebuilding. Hopefully, dear listener, some of you will go out and check out Rebuilding when it hits theaters. Again, only in LA this weekend, but me and Eric, it'll be our job to make sure we alert you when hopefully it's playing in your town. Also, the movie looks good. So if you have an indie theater in your neck of the woods, it's worth watching on the big screen because there are some beautiful views and vistas. They're talking about views in the movie as well. It's something, an indie film that's worth watching in the theaters. So let's go from
if you like Nomadland, give this a shot.
Excellent, Eric.
Got a lot of similar DNA.
Right, definitely. So speaking of similar DNA, this feels like a thinking person's thriller. Maybe I'm wrong on this. There's a film called Reverence. Eric mentioned at the beginning of the podcast that he interviewed the lead actor Adam Hampton, and I apologize, I did not put on our Google Doc the name of the filmmaker.
Kyle Harris.
Okay.
Kyle Kowika Harris.
Okay, very cool. And how did that interview go? It went okay?
Yeah, the Adam was cool to talk to, and Kyle was, I mean, they're both kind of laid back. They're just like, hey, yeah, we made a movie. Cool. Thanks for talking to me. And it was like, God, I want to hang out with these guys. They seem cool.
Well, very cool. So awesome. Well, it centers on this guy. I think I'm trying to look what the name of the person is. It's a dad played by Adam Shannon. Thank you, Eric.
Shannon Sadler.
Okay, Shannon Sadler played by Adam Hampton. His 18-year-old daughter Maddie, she is missing over Christmas.
Well, let's back up a little bit. So she's in a car with her boyfriend. They're like making out. And then there's this, like, they're kind of like on a frontage road. And there's a station wagon kind of parked a ways up. And they're like making out. And they're like, hey, get out of here, you pervert, whatever. Then they take off. And they're driving wherever they're going. And they start making out in the car. And a deer jumps in front of the car. Bam, they crash. Nothing. It messed the car up a bit, but they were both fine. Then that's when Shannon, the dad, Adam Hampton, shows up, and he's there with the tow truck and the tow truck driver, and he's like, "What the hell is going on? You're with my daughter." Like there's like a lot of tension there, and so they get the car back to the repair shop, and then there's like this whole kind of sort of a fight-ish, I guess, between him, his daughter, her boyfriend, and then even the people that work in the tow. Like the whole situation is like really tense, and unnecessarily so because everyone's just got a chip on their shoulder. But anyway, so that when Shannon and the daughter get home, that prompts her to like, I'm gonna go out and you can't tell me what to do. I'm 18. She storms off, and then she doesn't come back. And then so there's that whole thing that leads up to what we were just about to say.
Eric, quick question before you get into your review. I see here 125 minutes worth the time.
I didn't feel like it. So yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So anyway, so she's missing. They're looking for her. They follow a little bit of the detectives, and they go back to Shannon, and he's like, you got any new leads? And like, we can't tell you that. It's an open investigation. It's like, we got to find her. You guys aren't doing anything. It's that whole thing. The detectives, you see the work they're doing, but the people, the family don't see the results of that. So they think they're just effing off. So they're going to take matters into their own hands. And as you can imagine, that messes things up quite a bit. And then it's got a lot of similar DNA to Prisoners, where as Shannon's going to look for the person that kidnapped his daughter, he's making a lot of wrong accusation or wrong assumptions about people. And then so he starts causing problems where he shouldn't be. Had he just let the police do their job, I don't think the outcome would be the same, but the outcome for Shannon would not be the same. Because basically he's self-destructing, trying to find his daughter, and doesn't realize he's screwing things up for himself and for the investigation.
He's basically unhinged.
Yeah. And I think that's about as far as I'll go. I will say the ending gets really, really good. And maybe something worth talking spoilers at some point down the road.
I'm so sorry I didn't see this movie.
I don't even want to say what I think of the ending, because that'll tip. Once you start watching the movie, if you remember what I said, that'll tip the hat towards which way this is going to go. But yeah, if you like Out of the Furnace, if you like Prisoners, like this is up there with those kind of movies.
Ooh, Those are very good movies.
Yes, and so is this one.
Okay, so acting, top shelf acting. A lot of these actors, I haven't. No disrespect, I haven't seen them in anything before. So a lot of these are unknown actors for me. How did they do respectively in their?
I mean, Adam Hampton was definitely the lead here. Not all the time. They cut to other people sometimes, but like he was just like one of those guys where it's like, you ever see someone and you don't know exactly what they're about to do, but you know it's not going to be good, and you just want to hold them on the shoulder and go, please don't. Whatever it is you're thinking, do not do that. Like he's
well,
got
that's why Bruce Perky's in the attic.
exactly. It's for his safety as well as ours.
We love you, Bruce.
But he's got that kind of like not quite unhinged, but he's about to become unhinged. So there's always that kind of tension of how's this guy going to screw this up now, or what's he going to do, or how's he going to blow up, or which makes you whenever they go to the detectives, you want them to get on the ball and kind of figure stuff out.
Do they have a detective
for no other reason than to keep Shannon from self-destructing?
Is it more of that Shannon story, or do the detectives have their own sub-story as well within the framework? Because it's 125 minutes. I'm sure there must be some kind of flush out there.
Have you seen Changeling with
George C. Scott?
No, Angelina Jolie.
No, I always wanted to see that movie. My mom loves that movie, but
I'm trying to think of an example where or To Catch a Killer.
Okay.
You have the main character, but they would cut to other characters here and there. So it's definitely Shannon's story, but there's other stuff going on, so they keep cutting other people.
Oh, and like you said, it doesn't feel like 125 minutes.
No. Well, it's weird because it does feel epic because it does span quite a bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels long in that aspect, but not long in the fact that like, oh God, how much time we got left? When's this like when the movie ended? I was like, oh, come on.
Oh,
let's keep going.
Eric, you can actually say no comment on this if you want, because I know you wanted to keep the integrity of the ending and have people come to it pretty blind. But I read a review of Reverence where the reviewer, he or she, was saying that it's a really good movie up until the end. The end for the reviewer didn't spoil the entire movie, but it knocked the wind out of the reviewer, where lost a little bit of the momentum because it was so good all the way till the end. So there was a disappointment regarding the final act. Do you want to say no comment?
Even bringing that up tips the hat on where this ends up.
Okay, gotcha. So maybe you should no comment.
I will say,
do you agree? I mean, I don't know.
I understand. I disagree with their take on it.
Okay, you disagree. Oh, very good. That's a good thing.
I could explain all the ways of why the ending is great. I would have to tip my hat in certain ways that would actually spoil it. So I'm not going to do that. I will say whatever problem what you just mentioned, whatever problem they have with the ending, I get it. I feel the complete opposite of that.
Well, Eric, you're a natural writer. Did you like the writing behind Reverence then?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, the weird thing is it didn't really click in my head about that, which is weird because in the interviews, it's a lot of what we talked about.
Yeah, because I think you're a director.
It's what the writing's kind of like one of those things where like I didn't even really think about it, which is kind of like good editing. If you're not paying attention to it, that's probably good.
I snuck a piece of your interview with the director, and he was mentioning how he likes layered characters. I was wondering if you applied that same practice to Reverence, and I guess you're saying it has a lot of layered characterization in this movie.
Also, I guess one thing I didn't mention is that even before all the stuff with the daughter and her boyfriend, it shows you a bit of Shannon's past, which he had some PTSD from being in the military of some sort, and then so with his daughter, like he's already has mental illness due to that, and then you add his daughter missing on top of that, and it's just everything compounds. But much like Rebuilding, where the Dusty keeps having stuff heaped on him, so does Sadler, but Dusty's a lot more level-headed and just rolls with the punches, whereas Sadler takes every bad thing that happens to him and it just fuels the rage and anger and sadness inside of him.
Eric, one more thing before you get the final comment and rating. The final act, without giving too much away, it's safe to say that the final act will be divisive? Because you were saying you disagree with that reviewer. Will it have people on one side and other people on the others? Do you see it, or do you think people will be on pretty much your train as far as...
No comment.
Oh, I love that. No comment. Excellent.
You know what? Just maybe you love it, maybe you won't. Just watch Reverence and tell me what you think in the comments below, because I do not want to. And now the weird thing is that I'm being so sheepish about it. I feel like I might be overselling
No.
the ending. It's just an ending like rebuilding, where
Mm.
it ends where it needs to. Might not
Might not be your thing.
might be different people get different takes on it. I just happen to love it.
Oh,
I thought the ending was perfect.
All right. Speaking of you happen to love it, how much did you love Reverence? What is your rating?
We're definitely 5-star on this.
5 stars from Eric Holmes for Reverence. Wow, that is high praise. Reverence is
it's like just like that much away from 6.9. It's almost at 6.9. And I honestly don't
5 stars
know
is
why.
still
Well, much
excellent.
like Rebuilding is like 4.5. I'm like, why isn't it 5? So one's at 5. I'm like, why isn't it 6.9?
Yeah. I defer to Bruce Perky how he sometimes he'll go 5 stars, which 5 stars for Reverence is great, or any movie is great, but then sometimes he'll bump it up to a 5-star classic.
Yeah.
That 5-star classic is obviously in Eric's terms, a 6.9 star banger. Anyways, running at 125 minutes, Reverence is in theaters, digital, and on demand Friday, November 21st. What a great way to start this episode. We have 2 bangers.
Check out Revenants.
Oh,
You're gonna put it in a bowl, grab a big old spoon, just eat the whole thing up.
Can't wait. I can't. Is it scary and violent? You can't say that. Okay.
It's got elements of that, like kind of like in Zodiac, where Grace Smith goes in Roger Rabbit's home, and it's just creepy.
Right.
But there's nothing. But like it's got that suspense, like something should be happening, but then nothing really does. It's dangling that suspense cheese in front of you.
Okay, I'm cool with that because the trailer looked a little bit scary to me. It looked a little bit intense.
It definitely has a suspense in areas, and I think there might be some gory spots here and there, but it's not a horror movie. You're not gonna if you can handle Seven or Zodiac, you're fine here.
Well, it's very cool that you got to interview the actor and the filmmaker behind this, and on top of that, you really loved the movie. Like really loved it. So that's very, very, very cool. Let's get to a movie that I actually watched a couple of days ago. Eric Holmes, Brendan Fraser. Is he an actor that you love? Yes. Okay, Eric. Yes, do you see The Whale? I forgot. Were you mixed on The Whale, or you liked?
No, I like The Whale. I know that like some people didn't like. I guess that it was fat phobic or something like that, which that's fair critique. I think a lot of people have that, and so I definitely see that. But yeah, I liked him in The Whale. I liked the movie The Whale. I didn't get that same. It didn't turn me off the way it did other people, but I'm not gonna fault them for it, and I think they're probably right.
I love The Whale as well, like Eric Holmes. I love that movie too. I love Brendan Fraser. I loved him in this movie called The Ugly American. I've seen him in the Mummy movies. Those need a rewatch. I enjoyed them as well. I mean, he's one. Okay, so you're not a big fan of the. I think who was the director?
But also keep in mind, I'm the guy that liked Crash, the one that won Best Picture.
Right. Okay.
Like, I watched that. I'm like, oh, this is a cool movie. Everyone's like, oh, it's so on the nose. It sucks. I'm like, I like Don't Look Up and Anniversary and another movie we'll probably be talking about.
It's okay if you like on the nose stuff. No, nothing wrong about that. But you like Brendan Fraser as an actor, if I'm not mistaken, right, Eric? You appreciate him.
I think he's gotten better. Like, well, I mean, has he gotten better, or has he just finally gotten roles that he can do?
That's a great question. I think he's always been good.
No one's watching George of the Jungle going,
right.
Brilliant performance by Brendan Fraser as Your Hay of the Jungle.
Right, but people are watching probably George of the Jungle, not just because of George of the Jungle, but like you were saying, he's just a likable actor. Yeah. He's a likable actor. What was the one movie I haven't seen from Brendan Fraser is Gods and Monsters. Okay, with I think who was it? Was it John Hurt or Ian McKellen? One of those actors was in Gods and Monsters. That was a really revered film, and I think one of Brendan Fraser's most acclaimed roles. Now let's get to Rental Family. If you're
he was also in Killers of the Flower Moon. Forgot about that too.
Okay, yeah. I still haven't seen that movie yet. I feel so bad.
You would dig it.
I would dig it? Okay, so Rental Family. It's set in modern day Tokyo. Brendan Fraser is Philip. Philip is a close to a has-been middle-aged actor. He's trying his best to make it in Japan. He's been in his share of Japanese commercials. That's how he makes his money. But lately, the offers have been drying up. And we follow him into the first moments we realize he's actually late to a job. And it's interesting, he's late to a funeral. And you're wondering, what is this actor doing in a funeral? And then you certainly find out that within this funeral, he had to play a, quote, token white actor in this funeral and where he would get paid. And he was late for the event. And the coordinator of the event tells him, you're late, try not to be late next time. And then he tells that coordinator, he says, hey, if you have any other jobs for me coming soon, please. Or actually, the coordinator tells him, the Brendan Fraser character, again, Brendan plays this guy named Philip. He tells Philip, here's my card. If you are interested in more jobs, call me or find me. And lo and behold, Philip needs a job. And he realizes that this coordinator has two other people working in his office. And what they do is they're a rental service. They do not rent cars. They do not rent, well, actually, they rent not vehicles or inanimate objects. They rent people. These are employees who rent themselves out for some hours to play a certain role, whether it's to comfort a family or over a funeral, like I mentioned, or to actually hang out with someone for the day. There are people in this rental agency who will do that job. Philip initially balks at the opportunity, but then he realizes, well, he needs the money, number one. And number two, it might be a very interesting way for him to start using his acting chops again. So that is Rental Family. And what happens is it's a two-pronged story because Philip is hired for two different cases. The first case, these are the two main cases. The first case is he portrays a journalist who's interviewing a very revered Japanese actor, and he's an elderly man, possibly on his last legs, and he has to go and pretend to be a journalist to interview this Japanese actor. That's one of his missions. His second case is he has to pretend to be the father of this girl who has not seen her father her entire life. I think she's around 7 or 8 years old. He has to pretend to be the dad to this young girl because she's trying to get into this really elite private school in Japan, and they need a father, an actual father, to represent the daughter onto this testing procedure. And the one who hires him is the mother of the daughter. So he has these two missions, one with the Japanese actor and then pretending to be a long lost father of this little child who's trying to get into school. So if you are interested in both of these stories, you will really be interested in Rental Family. Running at 103 minutes. It's directed and co-written by Hikari. I was actually, Eric, you and I were talking about Brendan Fraser at the beginning. This feels like a form-fit role for him. It just feels like a perfect type of role because he's naturally likable and charming. And you look at him and you feel like he's kind and empathetic. And these are the qualities you need to play this role of Philip. And as the story progresses, you see Philip, who is really focused on being an actor, he finds maybe purpose in actually dealing with people on a real basis. Real in a fantasy world because he's playing different characters, but he's actually doing a good service for these people. He's helping them move on with their lives or enhance their lives. And it's very interesting where Rental Family goes. There's an interesting twist that comes towards the end of Rental Family that I'm not going to give away that I found to be very cool. And it's a very touching movie. I almost got teary-eyed a couple of times, and it's evocative and the acting's very good. And I was not bored at all in its 103-minute runtime. So I'm giving Rental Family 4.5 stars. Really, really love Rental Family. It hits theaters on Friday, November 21st. If you're a fan of Brendan Fraser, see this. If you want a movie that'll possibly make you weep or shed some tears and make you feel good stuff, all the good things, give Rental Family a shot. Also, if you like Japan and you're interested in Tokyo when you want to see beautiful areas in Tokyo, Rental Family is also good visually as well. So again, 4.5 stars for me for Rental Family. Let's see what else we have. We are closing the episode with Eric's take on Zodiac Killer Project. Bruce Perky also saw this. It centers on filmmaker Charlie Shackleton. He was making his next American true crime documentary, and the documentary was about a highway patrolman's effort to identify and capture the infamous Zodiac Killer. But what happened, I believe, and I'm not even going to read this, the rest of this plot summary is.
Oh, you probably can. I almost guarantee they don't give anything away.
Oh, no. What I mean is that's the plot summary deals with. I know exactly what it's about, in so to speak. He's actually thinking he's got to get financing for this Zodiac Killer project, but the financing falls through, or he doesn't get what he doesn't want. Yeah, he does get it. But what he decides to do with the Zodiac Killer project is actually through voiceover. I don't know what he's talking about, but certain sequences that he would have shot if he actually got the funds, number one. And also, I believe the Zodiac Killer project is sort of a take on our obsession with the true crime documentary, possibly, but I don't know. But that's what, Eric, why don't you fill in the rest of the portrait? It's 92 minutes. It hits New York's IFC Center on Friday, November 21st, and then wider release in the coming weeks. Eric Holmes, what did this, I don't know. Is this a movie?
Yeah.
Is it worth?
Kind of not. Yes. So Charlie Shackleton, as you mentioned, he wanted to do a documentary about the Zodiac Killer based on a specific book that it wasn't Robert Graysmith, but there was someone else that had wrote a book about that and became obsessed over it. And he was trying to get the rights for the book. That fell through. Couldn't quite get the funding for it. Like a bunch of stuff just happened that now Charlie Shackleton is not making his Zodiac documentary. So what this is a bunch of B-roll footage and him narrating the entire thing of, okay, right here is where this happened. And what I was thinking is like, we were going to interview this person and we would have cut away to a shot of this and this. But all you're doing is you're seeing like a slow push-in of this area. And then he'll like bring up other TV shows or documentaries or stuff, not necessarily based on the Zodiac, but based on other murder, mystery, or true crime documentaries. And he'll bring up kind of cliches. It's like, yeah, this is probably the part where we got the smoking room or the light bulb hitting the ground and breaking or the shot behind the back. And then he'll show like 4 or 5 different true crime documentaries where they did exactly that. So he's putting a hat on the cliches and all these sort of things. But he's not talking down on those cliches. He's basically saying, I would have done the same thing because it works and here's why. So it
feels like an exercise. It feels like an interesting exercise.
This is not a Zodiac documentary. Let's be very clear about that. Like that, I mean, there's definitely he brings up the story that he would have told had he made the documentary, but this is more of a how-to video on how to make documentaries. I think people are going to go in saying Zodiac Killer Project. I like true crime. I'm interested in the Zodiac. I want to watch this, and then they're going to watch it and be like, oh, this is a pitch video for a Zodiac documentary that never got made.
And they'll be mad when they watch it.
But
okay.
They do get guys like me who will watch this and go, oh yeah, I'll watch a documentary on the Zodiac Killer. Why not? I like the David Fincher movie and fine. This will probably, and it's quick too, even better. And then watching this going, okay, I interview some filmmakers that do documentaries. One of the questions I always ask is because in the IMDb credits, they have a writing credit. And I always ask them, what is that? It's a documentary. How do you have a writer? And they give answers and no one's ever given an answer that like really sunk in. Charlie Shackleton's showing how he's right. As this goes on, he's explaining and demonstrating how he would write, air quote, write the documentary as it's going. Now it makes sense to me. And Charlie Shackleton cracked the code on that. And so
that's very cool.
It's an undercover sort of, it's definitely, he makes commentaries and points out certain cliches in the genre.
Mm-hmm.
And the documentaries actually review on it's got a meta review commentary on the movie or the documentary you're actually watching, which is why it's really weird to review this, because Charlie Shackleton does it for you. Just watch the movie. And there's your review, but
Well, you saw
you'd already watched the movie, so why do you need to hear a review on it?
so it was valuable
But
for you
but it
personally, though.
yeah, it also he gives a lot of insight on how to make a documentary and what goes into making a documentary. Why why the documentary I mean, this is still a documentary, so it didn't fail in that regard. But and the weird thing is, the documentary he wanted to make it would have been enjoyable in as much as a true crime documentary can be, but it would have been like the 100 other documentaries that he showed clips of throughout the documentary. So the fact that that documentary failed, it allowed him to make this documentary, which is way more interesting than the one that he would have made. So that failure was kind of like like Bob Ross, like, oh, whoops, got a little paint there. That's all right. We don't have mistakes here. We only have happy accidents. This entire documentary is a happy accident. The documentary that he would have made probably would have been good. This is much more interesting to watch.
That would have been so cool.
And not at all what you think you're walking into for a thing called Zodiac Killer Project.
I bet you if you interviewed the director, you would have asked him that very question.
I wouldn't know what to ask him.
No, you would have asked him.
No, he answers all this in the documentary.
Oh, okay.
The whole documentary is like B-roll footage and like little edits here and there. And there's a couple sort of recreations, but they're like real close to the camera, so you can't.
Right.
You don't have to have the production. You just have like close up, super close up of that. I think you got Guy Robbins, lead Nicholas Harris's credit on IMDb. I'm sure they have like 2 or 3 more, but yeah, it's basically just a bunch of B-roll footage and him talking over it. And then you even have the person recording it would like ask him questions. He'd respond to that. And he'd have kind of like not snide remarks, but like kind of like off the cuff remarks, or like where he's just taking the piss out of stuff or just joking around about stuff. And he'll do that in the middle of talking about like how he's going to do this scene that's like this horrible murder, this horrible tragic thing that happened. He's like, oh, and then we would have shot here. That would have been stupid, but that's what we would have had. So there's definitely some levity here, but I mean, it's basically just a masterclass in making documentaries. If you want to learn how to make a documentary, watch this. He'll tell you everything you need to know.
Eric, what if you do not want to learn about making a documentary? This is a movie.
Again, that's why this has to be a 3-star banger. Because if you're going in watching the Zodiac documentary, you are going to be pissed the F off and you will hate this. Okay. But if you're like me, where you went, it's like, yeah, I'll check out a Zodiac Killer documentary, and then instead get a masterclass in making documentaries. This is like, oh, this is not what I signed up for, but this is like way better. I dig it. Yeah.
Okay, so that is a 3-star banger from Eric.
Yeah,
Holmes.
yeah. So just know, if you're looking for a Zodiac documentary, this is not it. I mean, it's got the story in it because he talks about the documentary what it makes. So there's definitely that narrative story of the Zodiac killer in this, but it's not really about that. So don't go in thinking this is gonna be a great Zodiac documentary, because it is not that. It's something else, but I think it's something way more interesting than that regardless.
Okay, that is 3-star banger from Eric Holmes for Zodiac Killer Project, directed by Charlie Shackleton.
If you're in for what I described, this is a 5-star movie. If you're not, you're probably a 0-star movie. It just depends on what you want to go in for. But
hence the different split. So it's interesting.
Yes.
Running at 92 minutes. It will be again at New York's IFC Center November 21st, and then wider released for the weeks of November 28th and December 5th. That is Zodiac Killer Project. Yes, Eric Holmes.
You know what this reminds me of? And not, because this is not a narrative feature, but the whole point of adaptation. Charlie Kaufman was supposed to do an adaptation of like, what was it, like the Black Orchid or something like that.
Yeah.
Couldn't figure out how to adapt the movie. So he made an adaptation of himself adapting the movie and invented other characters. Yeah, there you go. The Orchid Thief. He was supposed to adapt that. He couldn't figure it out, so he decided to go a meta route. And instead of doing the Orchid Thief, he did himself trying to write the Orchid Thief. That's kind of what this is. I couldn't get the Zodiac documentary done, so instead I'm going to make a documentary about my failed attempt to do the Zodiac documentary and what I would have done in its place.
Oh, very, very good.
And somehow turns out better than what the original would have been anyway.
Okay, so that is very interesting. Maybe I'll check that out. But I think the one movie out of all our discussion right now that I really want to see is Reverence and get back there.
Reverence.
Get
Go
back there.
watch Reverence and then check out Zodiac Killer Project after that.
Okay.
Because after you watch Reverence, like the sort of residual high you'll get off that will be a nice kind of patina going into Zodiac Killer Project.
Okay. Would Bruce Perky enjoy Reverence?
I think so.
Mm.
I'm not sure what he thought about. He liked Prisoners, didn't he?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he liked Prisoners.
I think if you like Prisoners, you're gonna like Reverence. They share a lot of DNA. If you like Prisoners, Changeling, I forgot what else I said.
We all love To Catch a Killer, so we all love that movie. So, all right.
Well, also this is like Catch a Killer, but like Catch a Killer is like in the city, this like small town, but yeah, same kind of genre, I guess, similar.
All right, so we are done with this episode. Our section of Cinematics, Bruce Perky will be coming up with a review, his own take of Zodiac Killer Project. He will have a review of another movie, a featured film that Eric and I did not see this week called The Things You Kill. You'll have a new, fresh review from Bruce Perky up in the attic in a few moments. And I believe Bruce has some reviews. I believe the Netflix series Man on the Inside, that will be reviewed. That's on, like I said, on Netflix. That will be reviewed by Bruce Perky. It just came out this week, starring Ted Danson. Really love that show as well. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here, Eric?
I do want to real quickly touch on The Running Man. Watch the original 1987 Running Man. It was as cheesy and bad as I remember, but it was stupid. It was fun. It's a 2.5, I guess.
2.5, so.
This is probably 2.5 is generous. I'll give that 2 stars. But then I also saw the new Running Man, which I love this movie. I think this might be like my Roadhouse remake again. Because I just listened to the review on the Film Vault even, and all 3 of them hated it. And
there's a lot of people who did not like The Running Man.
Yeah.
Eric, why did you love it? And why do you think people are throwing a lot of hate or dislike towards The Running Man? In fact, this movie bombed over the weekend at the box office, but I'm glad you liked it because
I'm hearing all the reasons. I'm like, I guess what I got out of it that I don't think other people did is I was impressed how it shows how effectively and how quickly propaganda can work. And it's almost comedic in this, and much like Don't Look Up, it's like, oh yeah, it's obvious. This is obvious. It's like, well, it's obvious, but we keep doing it. So we're not learning the lesson, so keep it obvious. But yeah, so Ben Richards, Glenn Powell's character, the Running Man, I guess, him and 2 other people got to take off throughout the world, and they get 24-hour head start, something like that. Then after that, they got hunters after them. If anyone sees them, they report them. They get cash prizes for that. And every day, the people in the Running Man have to take video of themselves, like a minute long or however long. It's got to be put in like one of the like futuristic mailbox things, just basically to show that they're not, I guess, keep the game fair or whatever. But then they'll take that video of them and then alter it. And so Ben Richards is like, yeah, I feel bad. I feel bad that I didn't kill enough babies. Ha ha, screw you. And then he didn't say any of that. They just made all that up whole cloth. And so, but then people are watching it. It's like, yeah, screw him. We're getting some. But you see how the TV show or the producers of The Running Man manipulate the information or manipulate the footage that they got to just basically sell propaganda, tell complete lies, and then the audience just eats it up. And I thought that was really effective how they did that. Some of the earlier scenes with Glenn Powell, where it's showing his life and showing people the dystopia. It's not even ran by a government; it's ran by a television network, and the people in power are all dicks. And so watching Glenn Powell kind of butt heads with them, knowing full well that like, because he's the main character, I'm gonna destroy you when this is all over. I'm gonna beat you up. I'm gonna kill you. Whatever it is, like he probably end up doing that. So I'm all pissed off for him at the beginning, but I just hang on to it knowing that it's gonna pay off. They do some fun stuff. The cross platforms of the reality shows within the world. There's some at the end of that comes up. And one thing that's weird is it didn't feel like an Edgar Wright movie.
It did not feel like an Edgar Wright movie? Okay.
There's a couple scenes where it's like, okay, this seems like an Edgar Wright-ism. But for the most part, it just seems like a regular studio Running Man movie. And there's a ton of product placement in this.
Mm.
Like Michael Bay levels of product placement. I think on one hand, it makes sense given, oh, sorry, my nose is all
No
plugged
worries.
up. On one hand, it makes sense because of what
The propaganda theme.
the propaganda theme, the companies, corporations owning things, all that sort of stuff. But it seems a mixed message when you're doing the thing that you're like. I get it if they portray that in the movie, but when the character is holding up, ooh, look at this product I'm enjoying. I think at one point he's eating Funyuns and the bag is always perfectly in view with the logo perfectly in view. It's like it's a mixed message because you got the product placement in the movie about corporate and government overreach, and I get it, but you're also doing the thing.
Interesting.
It'd be like doing a movie about the how bad sexual predators are, and then within the movie you're having someone be sexually predated upon. It's like you're doing the thing that kind of a little bit hypocritical. So it gets knocks for that, but overall, I think the stuff that Running Man does well, I appreciate it for. The hypocritical stuff I didn't care so much about, but I do love Glenn Powell in this. And I see why people dig him.
What is your rating on The Running Man?
I will probably go 3.5. Probably would have been 4 had they not did like all that kind of shot themselves in the foot with the product placement stuff. Probably could have been 4.5. But yeah, I'm definitely on the upside of Running Man, and so I didn't want to go too much into it. But I figure if everyone else is crapping on it, I might as well be the voice of opposition, crossing my arms, going, "You guys are wrong again."
Oh boy! So tell us what you think of The Running Man. Is Eric Holmes right about that? Do you join Eric Holmes's support of The Running Man? Again, Eric Holmes gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. That is it for this week's Cinematics. There's some more cinematic-ish stuff over in the attic with Bruce Perky, and you're going to hear him in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Cinematic, the Attica Cinema. We are back for another week of movies. I have some new streamers for you, a series, some movies, maybe a couple of very, very quick rewinds of things that I watched that have already been reviewed on the show by either Greg or Eric or both, so I don't need to really give them full reviews, just quick little ratings. So let's get to it. All right, first up, we've got A Man on the Inside. A Man on the Inside, Netflix. This is season 2. Season 1 came out last year, and it stars Ted Danson. If you didn't watch it, the basic concept is Ted Danson, he's a widower. He doesn't ever feel like he has a reason for his existence. He's not working anymore. He used to be, I think, a professor, if I remember correctly. Was a professor, a writer, a mathematician, something like that. I forget. Either way, he basically is feeling adrift in his life. And in the first series, he basically, on a whim almost, ends up becoming a private detective of sorts. He goes undercover into a old folks home where they need a private investigator, but they need him to be in there secretly and to figure out what's going on. I don't even remember what the mystery is, because that is kind of the thing with A Man on the Inside, is the mystery itself is not a MacGuffin per se, but it doesn't really matter. In the first season, of course, he's there, he meets a bunch of people, and finds meaning for his life while he's also being this private investigator. And it's really good. A lot of great characters. In fact, it's one of those shows where you see people you haven't seen for years, or you see people you've seen a ton of times and you don't know their names, but they are fantastic kind of character actors. And season 2 follows suit. Now, a few of the people that are in here, other than Ted Danson, which of course by now probably everyone recognizes Ted Danson, unless you just have never watched, I don't know, Cheers, I suppose, or the original Creep Show, or a bunch of other things. But in this season, you got Ted Danson, you have Mary Steenburgen, you have Stephen McKinley Henderson. You may not know that name, but he is the older dude in Civil War. He was also in Devs. He is a character actor I guarantee you've seen probably 50 to 100 times and never knew his name. He's fantastic. He is a carryover from season 1. He ended up becoming Ted Danson's character's main friend in the old folks home in season 1. And he has a bunch of stuff to do in here. You also have some other character actors like John Mantzoukas from How Did This Get Made fame, but also he's been in a bunch of things as well. He has a small role in here. The main kind of, I guess, co-star of this show, if you want to call it, if you want to say there is a co-star, would be Lila Rich Creek Estrada. And she plays basically Ted Danson's character's boss. I'm not putting out all the character names. I'm going to say the actor names. There's a bunch of other actors in here, though. Tons of actors. First of all, the first season was heartwarming without ever getting super saccharine. And also, it just had a pace where it let you just enjoy the characters and the character interactions and let it not be plot free, but let the plot not drive the story. Let the characters drive the story. And I really, really appreciated season 1. Now, season 2. First of all, you probably want to listen to Greg's detailed review of this. It'll probably be more full than mine because I saw this about a month and a half ago. He saw it just this week. I think my question when coming into season 2 was going to be, well, how are we going to do this? The whole kind of mystery, so on, got solved in season 1, and a big part of season 1 was he's undercover building all these relationships, and are these people going to feel betrayed by him once it comes out that he was undercover? He wasn't really just one of the residents there, and all of that stuff gets resolved in season 1 to the point that he's not going to be in the old folks home anymore. He's not going to be in the retirement center at all. So what is season 2 going to be? They're going to put him in another retirement center? Well, what's going to happen here? Season 2, he is going to be undercover in a college. It's a really small, like liberal arts college in California, super crunchy. And there is, once again, a mystery going on there that he has to help solve by going undercover. In fact, I hardly even remember what the mystery is. I think there's a painting or something that got destroyed or stolen. And, it was, I think, a laptop got stolen. There's some laptop with a bunch of stuff on it that got stolen. Something like that. Once again, the plot, the mystery doesn't really matter. Are you going to have a bunch of red herrings? Sure. Are you going to meet a whole bunch of different college professors and students as part of his adventure? Absolutely. Are some of his old friends and people from the retirement home going to find reasons to appear in this season? Yes. It doesn't matter. It's fully charming. Once again, I think they get the tone just right, where it has that wistful emotion, but never or hardly ever really veers into super sentimentality. One of the great additions to this season is Mary Steenburgen gets added on as a fellow professor at this university that he strikes up a romance with, which of course in the first season he's still dealing with how to live his life without his longtime partner who had died recently. And in this one, he's finding the way to maybe start up romance again if he can. Can he do that? That's a kind of a great little hook for season 2. Also being his real life wife, it's interesting to see the two of them after so many years still acting together, which is really fun. And Mary Steenburgen, if you don't know her, once again, a name or a face you probably have seen in some things. She was quite big in the 80s, at least, relatively big. But I liked her quite a bit. Once again, I can't even really describe what makes it great. You just have to watch it. It's not quite a situation comedy, not quite a drama, but it kind of veers into both lanes, and it does it in a way that's just, like I said, it's charming, easy watch. You feel very comfortable here. You really end up loving your characters, and you just want to spend time with them, which is kind of the approach of the show. We're spending time with these characters, and yes, there's a plot, but it's just enough to keep things moving forward. I like this quite a bit. And I think, one other thing, this is definitely one of those movies you can recommend to just about anyone. You're not going to have to worry like, oh my gosh, this person's going to think I'm crazy because I like this show. There's those shows like that where you can't do that. This one is one where it's pretty much recommendable to anybody. This is a very easy, like, hey, mom, dad, let's watch this together. And they'll enjoy it because they're seeing people they like, but it's also a quality show. I'm probably going to go we could almost go 4.5, but I'll go 4 stars for A Man on the Inside Season 2. I think it's equally as good as season 1. It might even deepen some of the things that happen from season 1 into season 2. So I hope that this series continues to get some viewerships. I don't feel like it's the kind of show that if it costs a lot, it would be because of all the actors they have to pay for. I don't think production-wise, other than that, it's probably super expensive. So hopefully it is the kind of show that can keep getting made, and they'll keep having a season every couple of years on Netflix, because it's a lot of fun, and it's something I would look forward to coming back to time and time again. And that's A Man on the Inside. Now, what do we got next? We have The Things You Kill by Alireza Khatami. I think I said the director's name relatively closely, hopefully. Boy, it's made a bunch of names here because they're mostly, I think, Turkish. Although they think this is a production that's not out of Turkey. I want to say there was, on the little screenshots that came out at the beginning, it said Polish film industry or something. And I think there might be a Canadian connection here as well. Either way, this all takes place in Turkish. I'm assuming most of these actors are Turkish. You have your main character, Ali Özdilek, played by Kayn Kalmbach. I may or may not be saying that name right. You have a character he meets named Rez. We'll talk about Rez in a minute. Played by Erkan Kostendi. And then you have Ali's wife, Hazar, played by Hazar Guklu. I'm sure I just nailed all those names. All right. So what do you got? You got Ali and Hazar. And Ali and Hazar are a relatively young couple, very upwardly mobile. They seem pretty successful. They live in a really nice house or apartment, whatever it is. And they're having a little bit of marital trouble, but mostly just around conceiving. You find out really quickly that he has very low mobility and sperm count, and he knows that that's the cause of their fertility issues, but he is not telling her that. And she is stressed out, thinking it's her fault. And right off the bat, you're like, okay, well, why isn't he telling her? And it's just like a masculine thing, or a thing where he just can't admit he can't be the man and admit he's the problem. Whatever. You kind of get that set up, but that isn't the main drama in this story. The main drama involves around Ali's father. Now, Ali's father and mother are both, of course, elderly. He's probably in his late 30s, early 40s. So they are, whether 60s, 70s, whatever it is. And at the beginning of the movie, Ali is helping his mother. She is quite ailing, uses a walker to get around. And when you get there, she has had issues with the bathroom. And in fact, Ali is like a little angry that his father hasn't fixed the pipes and stuff, because obviously that's a problem. And apparently they have like an outside, like almost like an outhouse restroom thing that works fine, but the inside one's having plumbing issues. And Ali is gently helping his mother, he even has to help clean her up, and she's really embarrassed by that, all these kind of things, right? And the father, on the other hand, is just angry and really seems to have a strained relationship with Ali. The father doesn't want to hear anything about trying to fix the pipes. He doesn't want to take any blame. He doesn't know why the mom can't just go to the outside restroom. All this kind of stuff. Really not showing any sympathy for an obviously ailing and fragile woman. And very quickly, I'm within like a scene or two, it appears that the mother is dead. The mother has died. She's fallen and died. And Ali is really angry about that and wondering like, well, how did that happen? Where were you, Dad? And all this kind of stuff, right? Because he had just been there. Ali had just been there just days or so ago. And even though she was really frail, she was not in that bad a health. And how could this happen? That kind of a thing. So kind of the dramatic thrust of the story is Ali suspects that the father may have been either actively or passively negligent or somehow helped hasten the death of his mother, and he really wants to get to the bottom of it, and he's really upset about it. And on the other side of it, because there are sisters and brothers to Ali as well that are involved, Ali is seen as, well, you weren't really there until just recently. You went off to America, you went and had your education. Well, why are you all of a sudden caring so much when you really weren't here? So there's that kind of an aspect to it too. So that's kind of your main dramatic thrust. He's trying to deal with the death of his mother. He's suspecting the father might have had some involvement, like I said, maybe just passively, just not caring enough, letting her be in a dangerous situation and just not doing anything about it, the thing, or maybe even actively doing something, but you're not really sure about that. And then there's other little subplot is that Abbie out in his garden, and they call it their garden, and essentially it's out in the, almost looks like out in the desert. He has a nice modern apartment, but kind of this shack and this little grove of dilapidated, like dying, I don't know what it is in the grove, whether they're olive trees or what they are, but they're not doing great. It looks like they need watering and everything. And he'll go out there and he'd call it their garden, but it's remote. And he'll be out there just spending time. Abbie will be. And one day he has a dog, like a German Shepherd or something. And he meets this stranger named Rez. And Rez says, hey, take me on, just like out of nowhere, just a stranger. Hey, take me on, pay me a decent amount. Let me live in this shack here. And I will get this garden back up to health. I will get the water going. I'll do what needs to get done. And he's even indicates he's willing to maybe bend a few rules with the local authorities to make sure they have enough water and the well's doing well, the well's deep enough. Do some things to make sure that this happens. And that's your setup. Some strife between Abbie and his wife, definite strife between Abbie and his father over the death of the mom, and this unusual stranger showing up in their lives. And I'm not going to say where it goes from there other than to say it's a super well acted, super low-key drama with, not, I wouldn't say thriller elements, but with suspense maybe. There's definitely some mystery of what would be going on. I just want you to know going in, it's much more of a slow indie drama than anything else, even though there's those other aspects of, it dips its toes into like a mystery thriller elements. Once again, I don't want to spoil things. And I will just say everything leads to a certain turning point, a big plot turning point at about the, not quite the 2/3 act, maybe just between a half and 2/3 in the film. And when that thing occurs, there's a huge stylistic choice made by this movie. I wouldn't say it's surrealistic, but it's almost Lynchian. And once again, I don't want to give it away, but I want to just be forewarn anyone who is interested in this movie that there's going to be a turn that takes place that will maybe throw you for a little bit of a loop. But if you let it happen and just let the story unfold, I think it works. And it's a little bit audacious. It's not super over the top. Now, I say Lynch would be way more over the top. But as far as just doing something with characters that would not be done in just a straight ahead, realistic, quote, sort of movie, then you get a flavor of something that might happen in this movie. At least you won't be surprised 100% when you are going to this movie that like, oh, it might take a turn that isn't exactly in the realm of realism. I think it's a really solid movie. I think for some people, this could be even above that. They could love this movie. I think it does what it does really well. I think it, like I said, it's anchored by some very, very good performances and some really solid direction. It's a movie that knows exactly what it wants to say and how to get there. And it just feels like it's in sure hands. And it feels like it's built on this kind of foundation of this Turkish cinema, like really strong Turkish cinema. And there's a lot of stuff in here, I think, about like art and losing art by going to other lands to learn, like this whole thing about him going to America to learn and how you're losing this kind of heritage of art from your own world, and that is something rich to be lost. It's interesting. It's a really deep movie, although it doesn't 100% hit me. It might hit me more, obviously, if I was from that area. I get it, but it doesn't 100% hit me emotionally. But intellectually, it's pretty darn great movie. I'm going to stick with 4 stars for The Things You Kill. A bit of a challenging movie, like I said. This is for people who really like indie art house movies, especially international movies. I think for people who like those kind of things, it's super rewarding, and I think it will hit the mark for a lot of people if you are into that style. If you're not, then you probably don't need to go down that road. Okay, next up, we've got Zodiac Killer Project. Directed, written, and I think narrated by Charlie Shackleton. This is almost like the Charlie Shackleton show. Zodiac Killer Project. Now, how to describe this movie? It is Sorry, my brain is trying to think, what do I rate this movie? It's somewhere between true crime documentary and true crime filmmaking documentary and meta commentary on the true crime genre documentary industry. So obviously everyone knows that true crime stuff is just everywhere. You can go to the ID network and there are, 50, 100 different true crime shows, and they all have little subgenres of their own subgenre, where there are things like Who Hired the Hitman? That's a whole series. And then there'll be some like mothers who get their kids to kill, and that's a whole subgenre. And there's like swamp murderers or whatever. There's all this kind of stuff. And they will all have varying degrees of exploitation and tropiness. And this movie kind of plays into how does that tropiness work and occur, while also telling you the story of how Charlie Shackleton wanted to make his own true crime documentary about the Zodiac Killer. So the movie starts out with just like a shot on a tripod of a rest stop, and it's slowly just panning across the parking lot of this rest stop. And you kind of get immediately the feel of what this movie is going to be, because the voiceover comes in and he says, like, if I could have filmed it, or something like, if I could have filmed this, I would have started here, and you would have seen a cop car, probably a vintage cop car, parked in that spot right there. And right next to it, another car would pull in, and then you would see the police officer looking over and seeing the other man and their eyes locking. And then, of course, as you're going, every so often, there'll be a cut-in of a shot mimicking what he's talking about that would have been the type of shot that would have been in the documentary he would have made. So you'll get those like dramatic cut-in of eyes staring at each other. But these shots are much more like staged and studio perfect, as opposed to these kind of just raw footage of this parking lot. And I'd say like 90% or 80% of this movie is just slow moving shots of just mundane places that might have been a location shot for the movie he would have made. Now, once again, I keep saying would have made. Why didn't he just make the movie instead of doing this kind of meta thing? Well, you find out really quickly he had tried to get the rights to this book about the Zodiac Killer, and it wasn't the biggest book about the Zodiac Killer. It was like if you had the third biggest book about Zodiac Killer, that's the one he wanted to make the story of, about this like retired cop named Lyndon who wrote this book and had this whole experience of trying to investigate and hunt down the Zodiac Killer, and how he did that and where he went. So Charlie here, the filmmaker, had secured the rights, he thought, and then it fell through, and he didn't have the rights to the book. So essentially what he's doing is saying, like, well, if I would have been able to get the rights to the book, what would the movie and the story have been that I would have told? And he's telling you that mostly just through voiceover. And every so often he says, like, well, I can't go too deep into this because if I did, I might be up for litigation. But all the things I can tell you because they're also events that are detailed in some other book or in police reports or news reports. So basically, he can get around the stuff that is in the book that is available in some other source. But once again, I want to highlight, it's not done dramatically like an actual documentary. It's him telling what he would have done and how excited he is about certain shots he would have been able to do. And when he's talking about these certain shots, you'll get moments where it will intercut with those sorts of shots from a whole bunch of other different true crime shows, showing how tropey the subgenre of true crime has become. And he'll have things like, I'm going to have the title sequence, and it's going to be all these shots of decaying buildings, and it'll be like cross fading into pictures of like desolate trees, and there'll be some moody, bluesy sort of weird sound, industrial soundtrack, and there'll be tiny little printing on the screen, all this kind of stuff. And you never think about it. He's pointing out, like, you never think about it, but that's what you see in all these shows. And there'll be a bunch of stuff like that. He might be going at one point in the description of what he would have done, and he'll be like, this is the point where I would intercut shells falling on the ground in slow motion, that kind of a thing. So it becomes, once again, very, very self-referential, and you'll even hear him stopping at times just laughing at what he's saying, or there'll be a moment where he's filming an intersection. This is an intersection in the city where Lyndon was doing his tracking down of the possible Zodiac Killer, And while you're watching this footage, just mundane footage of like I said, an intersection somewhere in California. And he'll be like, wait, this spot. This is when this motorcycle comes by. This is really cool. And he'll stop and kind of comment on the footage he has, and then he'll go back to the story, that kind of thing. Overall, I would say this is entertaining to some degree. It almost plays to me more like a podcast than a movie. And I understand why it's a movie, because he can show you visually some of the things he's referring to. But also, 70% of the time, what's on the screen is, like I said, is literally just like a parking lot or a shot of a school or a church or a library or something. And that is obviously not as interesting as what he's saying. So if you're intrigued and if you're, I guess, engaged by this movie, to me, it's mostly because of the story of him trying to tell this story of this guy trying to find the Zodiac Killer. That part is interesting. And then the story of how he would have made the movie and why he couldn't or whatever it is interesting as well. But like I said, the stuff on screen most of the time isn't very interesting. So it's almost not a great movie, but a pretty good podcast. I know that's damning by faint praise, but it's true. I think, like I said, if I were to rate it as an actual movie, it would probably be like 2 to 2.5 stars. If I were to rate it as a pretty good filmmaking / true crime podcast, I would probably rate it as a 4 stars. So I think I'll go 3 stars. It's a mild recommend. I think people's mileage will vary a lot on this. I think if you get into the presentation and what he's going for here, this kind of, like I said, once again, this meta, how to make a true crime movie documentary while you're also telling the story of what you would have done. I think if you can get into that mode, I think you could have a lot of fun with it. But if you can't, I think it would be a long watch for some people. So I'm going to go 3 stars, a mild recommend for the Zodiac Killer Project. Okay, one last thing. I'm going to do a quick update on Pluribus. So Pluribus, we are now up to episode 3 on Pluribus. I just want to quickly give you a quick recap of what happened. Rate it. The first 2 were 5 stars each. And also, where did my predictions go and what predictions do I have for the future? I'm going to go very quickly, though. I'm not going to do a long dissertation on this. I'm going to say, when we left off, Carol had stopped Air Force One. She was standing in front of Air Force One, and she was presumably going to get back to Zosia. She decided Zosia should not go with the hedonistic harem Hugh Hefner sort of dude. And that's where we left off at the end of season 2 or episode 2. Episode 3 begins with a flashback before any events that we saw in the first 2 episodes. And she is with her, we never know for sure, her girlfriend / wife. And they are at this really high-end destination hotel in Norway, this ice hotel. And you immediately see how I'm just going to call her her wife. Her wife really wanted to do special things for Carol, and how Carol was very sardonic and unappreciative, and her whole personality is Debbie Downer, which we have seen already in the first 2 episodes. And she just doesn't appreciate this ice hotel. But at the same time, it's this really unique and weird experience. And then, of course, we cut back to current day, which is Carol stuck in her house again. She knows what the world is doing. She is fully has sunken into depression because now she, after meeting the other half of the people that are like her on Earth and seeing that they basically all are fine with the new world, she knows that she's on an island as far as her attempts to want to change back to where it was and to get rid of this alien consciousness invasion or whatever you want to call it. There is one little sequence where she tries to call everybody, or she tries to find out about everybody else that she hasn't talked to that's like her. And the only thing we find out there's one guy, the guy they found last, and he's in Uruguay or Paraguay, I forget which one, and he is even less wanting to talk to the unity the meat puppets. He doesn't want to talk to anybody. In fact, she tries to call him. He won't talk to her. In fact, they yell at each other. They have a little antagonistic moment. So I think my prediction that the other person that's like her that she's going to try to find, I thought she was going to discover it by the other person causing the seizure, but that I think by her discovering that person's there, that's definitely going to come into play again as the season goes on. Because the fact that there's somebody else who's trying to fight this entity, that is going to somehow spark her. Not as much as what happens in this episode, though. So, like I said, the rest of the episode is almost like depression. The entity is trying to feed her like an awesome meal that she had when she was at one of her best moments. They pick her memory, and she's like, "Stop picking my memory." And they bring her this beautiful cloche-covered breakfast. She throws it away. She spends all of her time just hidden in her house, watching Golden Girl reruns. And once again, you feel that this is just not working for her. It's empty. It's probably a comfort food for her, but it's not working. There's no comfort because there's no one else in the world. She's all alone. Even though there's millions of people, they aren't people. And it's really causing her a crisis. And she decides, I want to go get my own food. I want to make my own food. She's trying to recapture, trying to keep some semblance of her actual former world. And she goes to her favorite grocery store, Sprouts, and it's been emptied out because the hive mind is like, we are centralizing everything. We're making everything as efficient as possible. We don't need to have things all over the place because we're just pushing everything together to the most efficient use of space and time and energy and all these kind of things, because why would you need to have stuff spread all over the place? She, of course, is like, well, I want my Sprouts back. And they're like, okay. And then like 2 hours later, they brought in like, I don't know, 20 trucks and hundreds of people. And they all just like ants, like worker ants. They just repopulate the entire grocery store with fresh food and fresh produce and fresh everything. And now she has her own little store. So in a way, she's sunken into the habits of the hedonistic guy, but just on a very small scale. So once again, that doesn't fulfill her either. It freaks her out a lot, and she's angry as always. She's one of the most angry, grumpy Debbie Downer characters you've ever seen, which is great. And this leads to the namesake of the episode and the crux of the episode, and that this episode is called Grenade. And at some point, she makes a really sarcastic comment, something to the degree of like, why don't you just get me a grenade and I'll just blow this whole thing up, or something like that, right? And of course, I don't know, an hour later or whatever, shows up at her door a grenade. And she's like, great, a grenade. And she's really like, whatever, it figures. She doesn't believe it's a real grenade, or maybe she does. You're never quite sure. She says she doesn't believe it's a real grenade, but you know it's a real grenade watching the show. Why wouldn't it be? And she goes ahead and has her sit down, decides to have a drink with Zosia. It's like she's giving in and like, well, at least I have this robot to talk to. That's how I feel like she's taking it. Like it's not the same as a real human being, but she can pretend because it's all she has. And it's better than the TV, which really doesn't do anything because it just never changes. It's just an old series. And she's having her drinks with Zosia. And I forget how the argument goes exactly. But during the conversation, essentially, she is holding the grenade and saying like, well, I could pull the pin, and like, not joking about it, but then accidentally does pull the pin, and it really is a real grenade. And Zosia like immediately gets up, politely says, excuse me, and then takes the grenade and throws it out the window, and it blows up and almost kills Zosia. Almost kills Zosia's meat puppet, because is that a human? Who knows? What do we say? And this leads to the key conversation, and probably one of the turning points of this season so far, only being 3 episodes in, and that is at the hospital where Zosia is going to end up being fine, apparently. She survived her injuries, mostly because, they thank Carol. Thank you, Carol, for your quick action, because she like put pressure on the wound or whatever, even though like obviously they could be not thanking her for causing the explosion, but whatever. Anyway, she ends up having this conversation with the quote doctor, who looks like a delivery person, and it strikes her. It strikes her like, this was a real grenade. Why did you guys give me a real grenade? That's a terrible thing to do, even because I asked for it. Just because I asked for something that's dangerous, why would you give it to me? And of course, this is obviously a metaphor for in the real world, right? Like, you don't want to give everybody everything they want, or it could be to detriment of society. And the person's like, well, we just want to make you happy. Of course we gave you a real grenade. You asked for a grenade, so we gave you one. If you'd said you didn't want a real one, we would have got you a non-real one, whatever. And then she begins to escalate. And this is that kind of what if conversation you would have with somebody over something like, I don't know, gun control or something, right? Where she basically says, like, you brought me a grenade? What if I asked for a bazooka? Would you bring me that? Well, of course we would. What about a tank? Well, and they think about it for like a split second, probably just deciding like how hard would it be to get you a tank? And they're like, yes, we would. And she says, what about a nuclear warhead? And once again, like I said, this is one of those like, what if philosophical conversations you might have, or a stoner conversation you might have. But in this case, it could actually happen very easily in this world. And this is the first time she sees a crack, because she's saying like, what if this made me happy? What if it made me happy to have a nuclear warhead? And they don't say immediately yes. They say something like, well, we'd have to have a really serious conversation about it. And she goes, yeah, but what if I decided I really, really needed that? And they're like, well, if you really needed the nuclear warhead, we would get it for you. And of course, she's sitting there just stunned. And I think, and this is the moment where, and it leaves you at this moment, not sure what she's thinking in that situation. Does she want a nuclear warhead? I don't think she wants a nuclear warhead. But I think what has happened is her wheels have turned. And this is what I had predicted a little bit in the last episode. And that is, I thought she was going to find a way to break their brains, or to use their wanting to please all the time and to somehow show them with a contradiction that they couldn't achieve that without hurting someone, and that would force them into an unfixable dilemma where no matter what they did, they'd have to do something to hurt somebody. I gave the example of the trolley experiment kind of a thing. And I think she, in a sense, has just tripped upon that idea, because I'm sure she's thinking to herself some version of, well, if I asked for a nuclear warhead, which would do nothing but cause damage and destruction and long-term effects that were negative, but it would make me happy, like I'm a crazy sociopath or something, you would do that for me. Then I think she's seeing and she saw the pause. I think the discovery of that is that she now knows, like, oh, the chink in the armor of this happy cult-like mass entity, hive mind entity, is that it can't deal with contradictions, or moral contradictions, or conundrums. And I feel like now in episode 4, Carol has found her purpose. I think her purpose is to find ways to basically start to throw wrenches, these philosophical wrenches, into the system of the hive mind. And I'm not sure how she's going to do it. I think that's going to be a lot of the fun, is watching how she does that. But I think that has now become her goal. It's given her a purpose in her life. And that is the way she maybe can, quote, defeat them. I don't know about that part of it, but it makes me wonder. And I do have one other issue, and I will stop talking about Pluribus. But yes, I hope that you guys are enjoying talking about Pluribus and watching it. One other thing I wonder about is this. And will they at some point come to this, or will she, Carol, come to this question? And that is, what is the end game? So if this entity / whatever it is going across until it finds a planet who can solve its mystery code, and the mystery code causes this cascade of, quote, infection or overtaking of the whole planet's ecosystem, so all intelligent life forms basically become your like little zombie puppets, happy zombie puppets. What is the end game when the entire planet has been overcome? Because once you have the entire planet overcome, all you are then is just a well-working machine that has no purpose, right? Because if they're all overtaken, what do? They just basically keep the lights on, and that's it. Because it doesn't show that the actual, all the meat puppets, I keep calling them that, because they don't have any initiative. They don't have any desires. They literally just want to do whatever they're told to do and whatever they can do to keep these anomalies happy. Well, I'm not sure why they want to keep the anomalies happy, other than the only reason I think they want to keep the anomalies happy is that unhappy anomalies can cause the hive mind danger. So it's just a survival mechanism. But my question is, if the entire planet's been assimilated, then what is the point of this entity? Like, what is the end game? What does it want? I feel like that question, when that question starts to get answered, we'll start to know what the real conflict is. Because right now we don't know what the real conflict is. Right now it's like a thought experiment that poor Carol, poor angry, grumpy, annoying Carol is stuck in. And we're waiting to hear what is the next shoe that will drop. Very, very interesting series. I'm really still enjoying it quite a bit. Will this be a 5-star episode? I'm probably going to go 4 stars in this one, just because we spend about half of the episode in Carol's depression, and it's important for her character to see where she goes, but it isn't as fun to watch. Whereas I think the last half of the episode is the real meat and potatoes of the episode. I think that's the kind of thing where you probably could have got there a little quicker, and that's the stuff I really wanted to watch, but it's still really good. And once again, the idea is so interesting. Okay, really quick on the way out, speed round. I watched Thelma. Thelma is fantastic. Once again, a great pairing. If you want a movie pairing to go with The Man on the Inside, Thelma would be it. The best elderly revenge / slow speed chase movie with some fantastic characters, really low stakes, but high return. Thelma is probably 4.5 stars for me, verging on 5. It might be 5 stars if I watched it again, but it's really, really good. With June Squibb, I forget her first name. June Squibb? I think it's June Squibb. Always great. And I also want to say, who is the other actor? Oh my gosh. Famous actor. Was it Richard Roundtree? Oh my gosh, I could be wrong. I forget which actor it was that she was with, but he was great too. I also watched One Battle After Another. Also fantastic. For me, 5-star movie. Once again, I'm not going to go into the details of it. Greg gave a detailed review. I pretty much agree with Greg all the way around on that. I know that Eric was a little less, he's not quite so enthusiastic with it. I think he didn't enjoy it as much. I feel like the best way to enjoy One Battle After Another is to think about it in the ways that the Film Ball talked about it, which is, imagine if you knew the dude from Big Lebowski maybe in his youth, and you found out he was like a counterculture revolutionary, and then you flash forward to the dude currently, and the dude's like he is, just a slacker, hazed out person who's a dad, but a terrible dad, and who knows, he's just paranoid, and like I said, he's stoned and or paranoid all the time, and his paranoia is true. His past has come back to get him, and the rest of the movie becomes this kind of this just it's a very focused thing. It could be couched in all of this liberal versus conservative iconography, and you could see it as a big satire on that. But I think what it is really is it's just like a dad trying to save his daughter in the midst of some craziness. And there's good action, there's good humor, and there's a great villain in, what's his name? Oh, Sean Penn's character. Sean Penn plays a great weirdo, super conservative, military-ish sort of a dude, cop-ish sort of dude. And there is commentary if you want social commentary here. I think that social commentary isn't what a lot of people think it is. I think a lot of people think the social commentary is like, it's talking about the conservative MAGA world versus the liberal humanistic world, because of course of the world we're in today. I think it's really much more of a commentary about things like revolutionaries on the far right and the far left, like violent revolutionaries, are crazy. The movie is saying that on both sides. Both of those sides are crazy. And the true human world isn't that. And when you discover that, and you just want to have life, and you want to have humanity, and you want to have family, then you have to almost like fight everything you can to survive, because you're all basically stuck between these two crazy extremes. And the movie is playing around with that, but it's doing it in a really, really entertaining way. And the filmmaking is just on point, and the acting's on point, and the plot is energetic. A really good movie, 5 stars, one battle after another. That's all I've got for you this week. Enjoy. I know next week we're doing our Patreon as well, which is 97. And I can't remember what movies we're watching other than, I think, Doberman and some other movies which have already gone out of my brain, but we'll find out. All right, guys. Talk to you soon.